I don't
actually.
There we go. Okay. Now it's live.
Are really live.
Live.
Just getting it going now. Yeah. And let me give Jeff the StreamYard link. Copy. Jeff is our chat room moderator, so he'll be taking questions from the audience.
Okay.
That we will then read to you, so you don't have to be looking at chats or anything like that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Full service. Full service show here.
Right. And when we get to the top of the when we finish, when we go into the break, you can just leave.
Yeah. When your segment's done, there's not really a post-mortem or anything. You can just take off.
Guys, if you two can try not to talk over each other, because I'm getting a little bit of delay from you guys, but it,
yeah,
as long as I can understand you.
We will try not to talk on top of each other. Yes.
Yeah, we generally don't. All right. And watch my hand signals, because if we're trying to keep within time, if I go like this or something like that or something like the pointy thing, that means we're going to go for a break, or I'm trying to get to another question or something. All right.
Gotcha. Okay.
There's Jeff.
Jeff is down.
You could have just sent me the link, but it was nice getting a whole magazine.
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, it's very popular. The Tribune owns a bunch of those things all over around the country, and they're well done.
Yeah.
And people, like sometimes I go to Boston or Maine, I'll pick up one of those magazines because you get a lot of local stuff out of it.
Right. Yeah, we went to the Lyric Opera once, and for 10 years they would send us their full-color brochure of every opera going on at the Lyric Opera. And the opera we saw was terrible.
I once got on the Art Institute in Chicago, with my boys, and we're walking around, and you sign on. Oh my God, we have a rural mailbox. I'd open it up, and there would be a million things from the Art Institute.
Exactly.
And then they share it with all the other places. Like, oh man, never give them anything.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, I guess it's
jump on the stream here, and
it is 4:59.
Make sure I have the
5 o'clock. All right.
Pin this. All right, we will wait for Sue's cue, and then we'll go in.
Okay, 5, 4, 3. Hey, it's time for Voice Over Body Shop. How's everybody doing today or tonight or whatever you're listening to? Awesome. Our guest tonight is Harlan Hogan. Hey, Harlan.
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Okay, you missed my birthday. That's all right. The present can come in a couple days. Don't worry about it.
When was that?
It was on Saturday.
Oh, see, we're not Facebook friends. How would I know?
We're Libra buddies.
Exactly.
Mine's in
That's right. Actually, somebody pointed out once that if you were born on September 30th, then you were a New Year's Eve baby. Just give it some thought.
Just do the math.
Yeah, really. All righty. Hey, it's time for Voice Over Body Shop. George and I are going to talk with Harlan. If you got any questions for him, throw them in the chat room, because we will get to those questions on Voice Over Body Shop starting right now. Voice Over Body Shop is brought to you by VoiceOverEssentials.com, the home of Harlan Hogan's signature products. Source Elements, the folks who bring you Source Connect. VOHeroes.com, become a hero to your clients with award-winning voiceover training. VoiceActor.com, your voiceover website ready in minutes. VoiceOver Extra, your daily resource for voiceover success. And by World Voices, the Industry Association of Freelance Voice Talent. And now, here's your hosts, Dan and George. Well, hello there. I'm Dan Leonard, as it says right there.
And I'm George the Tech Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
Or VO-BS. Well, did I show this last week?
I think we've seen it in a few formats.
Oh, okay, yeah. Found it in Leadville, Colorado, of all places.
Prince Albert has multiple connotations. I recommend Googling it sometime.
Yes, exactly. But the old joke is you have Prince Albert in a can? Let him out. Anyway, tonight we have a very special guest, somebody who's been with us before and is actually with us every week if you watch this show every week.
That's right.
Joining us from Chicago is Harlan Hogan. But let me introduce Harlan. Harlan has provided the voiceovers for countless commercials, documentaries, and films. Many famous advertising catchphrases such as "strong enough for a man," "you never get a second chance to make a first impression," "when you care enough to send the very best," and "Quaker Life, it's the cereal even Mikey likes," ranked 10th in TV Guide's list of best commercials, have been performed by Harlan. He's also written several books on the subject of voice acting, and his company VoiceOver Essentials is the only outlet for voiceover recording equipment made for voice actors by a voice actor. And he was recently interviewed by Chicago Magazine in an article entitled, Everybody Tells Me I Have a Great Voice. And we want to talk about that right now. Welcome, Harlan Hogan.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
You're not going to say legendary, are you? Because I
not
feel like I'm going to die the next day, you know?
No. That's Mark Grau's private property, I think.
Oh, is it?
You know, people tell me all the time I have a great voice. Guess who's not trying to do voiceover?
Yeah,
me.
You don't want to compete with your own clients.
No, I don't. I don't.
Anyway, so you could have just sent me the link, but no. Harlan sends me the entire magazine, and there's this great article for Chicago Magazine about everyone tells me I have a great voice. Sometimes I tell people, I do voiceover. Well, you got a really good voice. I'm like, it's not about the voice. But how did you come about doing that particular interview? It was a very long article.
It is a very long article. Well written, I think, and covers a lot of territory. Just out of nowhere, I did not know Tel before this. He just sent me an email and said, I'm kind of putting this thing together, and I've heard your name a lot. Could we do a Zoom together? I said, yeah, sure. So we did. And then I went off to L.A. to do some stuff for the Magic Castle. And if you're good, I'll send you the picture of me in my black tie outfit. It's stunning. And it's one of those, you say, thank heavens I have a tuxedo, and now I can justify the 3 times I've worn it in a decade. But anyway, he got a hold of me. He said, you know what? He had mentioned a golden age back in the day in the 70s and 80s, and the editors said, well, get some more on that. So he came out to the house, saw the studio, and we hung around together. He's a terrific guy. And I think his journey is very interesting and very honest as he's taking classes from the really good people here and trying to get his first agent. And like almost all of us, the first go round on the agent is probably not the one you're going to get signed on, but you'll stay at it and talk to them and promote. And that was one of those out of nowhere things.
Well, it was interesting. What I found, it sounded like everybody's success story. Now, you started doing this at a very different time in this business. I mean, both of us did. Our backgrounds are very similar. We did the radio thing, and and that helped some people get into voiceover. But what we saw was hardly something that I think most people see in their careers. There was successful people, and the ratio was probably not that good. What do you think? And based on what we were reading.
No, it was a small club. I mean, there was so much, particularly commercials and also corporate narration and some on camera. Chicago has a checkered past on shooting things here. It's much, much, much better now than it was, but for years, the mayors would say things like, you can shoot here, but we need to approve the script. Well, you say that to a writer, we'll go shoot it in Philadelphia, see you around. But the commercial business was really rocking and rolling, and there was a lot of work. And some of that also was the ad agencies, the way that they operated, which was kind of unusual, because I had done a little time in advertising as well. And Theo Burnett in particular would set up teams when they got a new account, and they would put together this whole package in competition with each other. And then he would sit and look at all the storyboards and the pencil tests and all that and judge them. And famous for saying, this one gives me an idea, and then he'd throw it down. But for the voiceover people, and me being a newbie, they would generally get the pros or even the amateurs in to...
Well, hey there, it's David H. Lawrence with VO Heroes, and...
Oh,
we didn't want him to interrupt. All right, where's the razor blade? We got to edit that one.
That's okay. I know the 17th. He's a good guy. But anyway, even not even knowing anything, they'd say, hey, could you be over here at 1 o'clock at Universal? We've got 6 scratch tracks, which paid $150, which was 50% of the session fee. Hey, and the beauty of that was you were actually getting directed by writers and producers who, if they liked you, would say, hey, let's get that guy back. So it was a wonderful time. And if you were smart, you realized it wouldn't go on forever, but it was good. Yeah.
Well, it's really changed, with so many people in the biz. What is it in your mind that allows people to succeed in this business?
A lot of work, promotion, treating it as a business. Even when you get the audition and you look at it and laugh because you think it's stupid, send it back. The person who sent it, that's a courtesy. And there's a lot of floppiness in it, I think. And if you can find, this is classic, if you can find in Chicago a niche, but if you find a niche like the rest of the world, something you can specialize in, and that may be phone answering, it may be medical narrations, it could be any number of things. That really helps, I think, your psyche. I do a lot now at my age, a lot of political work, and they're very loyal. I enjoy doing it. During the season, it is not unusual here to have calls at 3 a.m. because the lawyers got a hold of it, and we said that so-and-so did something. We got to change 2 words. He was possibly, okay, I can do that. Hang on. Happy to do it. Call anytime. So I found that to be good. And I think also just, longevity is important. You start to see, I think, a long-term career, not just something you luck into. And you're right, a lot of the stories are that we luck into it. So part of it is also showing up. I forget whose quote that was, but that was like 90% of success is showing up. So
repeatedly.
There are so many people though.
Yeah. Do what you say you're going to do, which is, and deliver when the opportunity comes. Which is, I think that's the one thing, somebody says, well, I was in theater, and somebody said, hey, try this. And because they were actors, they were able to pull it off immediately. And, but I guess the really good people continue to study and try to keep up with the trends and stuff. What have you been seeing? I'm sure you're talking to a lot of voiceover people in your business, and what are you seeing as far as what people are doing to try and keep up?
Well, pretty much what we're talking about. It's staying in there, and you got to have a thick skin. It is difficult. Rejection's going to come over and over and over and over and over again, and just get used to it. But go back and listen to that audition, for example, and see if you can hear something you didn't do or you might want to try next time. And I'm huge on looking at scripts. It's part of my theater background. I have a BFA in theater, and I worked in radio as well, as Dan did, and did tons of community theater. I can't begin to tell you, and dinner theater. That was a joy. It doesn't pay a lot, but you got free dinner.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was in The Odd Couple in both roles, Felix and Oscar. Go figure. Not at the same time. But,
oh yeah, I was going to say
totally different bodies. But keeping doing it, and look at that script. Unless it's just totally like it would be an AI script, like number 1, number 2, number 3. But look, what's the storyline here? What are we trying to do? And if it's decent writing, there is a story in there. And I don't think it's about how you have a good voice. I never ever thought I had a good. What is a good voice? A big deep voice and all of those things. But that's not the point. And it was back in maybe the early 50s or late 40s. I mean, you had the hand over the ear. And ladies, have you looked at your laundry? Well, we did. Stop it. Who are you talking to? And when I was first getting in the business, there were still a few people like that. And they would go in and take the cans off and talk to themselves.
Now, if somebody does that, they're doing it because they're basically playing a character of that style of reading.
Of that genre. Yeah. Back in the day. That's about the only time anybody wants that kind of delivery. And it can be very funny. Yeah. And the fact is, too, just take time with copy. Take a break. Take a breath. That's all part of one of the things that will hopefully keep the AI kind of robotic voice away. Like the musicians say, when they had all of the electronic musical instruments, the problem was there were no clams. For those of you who are not musically oriented, there were no mistakes. It was too perfect.
Oh, clams. Oh my God.
Yeah. And in Chicago in particular, we had wonderful jingle singers. I mean, God, they were the best in the world. And everybody
they had to be. They had to be super incredibly impressive musicians, because if you botched a take, I mean, there was no punching in, there was no multi-track, man. It was like a one-shot deal, and so the musicianship was like absolutely next level. Yeah.
And even doing voiceover, go to Universal, and it was on an optical track, and you read the script, the whole script, and got it in on time. Not that that's any pressure.
Jeez.
And when you did screw up and your mind went nuts, they had to roll it back. So you'd be standing in this little booth, and you just, no, Harlan, no, you plugged it. Okay. Thing rolled back. Meanwhile, your whole career is passing before your eyes. And but you learn how to do it, and sometimes even do a little ADR on it. And it was fun. The thing that always cracked me up in the bigger studios here, Universal and CRC and Studio One, when you worked there, this huge, beautiful room with fabulous speakers and everything, and you go, wow, this is great. And you got the singers doing Like a Good Neighbor, State Farm, this beautiful, beautiful music going out, and all the McDonald's stuff. And then you go home at the time and had your TV on, and it had one of those little oval speakers about this big. So the thing that sounded so great when you recorded it sounded kind of like that. And you had to kind of say, believe me, it was really good when we recorded it.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we're talking with Harlan Hogan, if you're just joining us, and we're talking about what's going on in the voiceover business, reminiscing a little bit here, but let's get into what's going on today, because there's
I heard the letters AI in that last conversation. So.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. But there's all sorts of stuff, but we've got so many people in this business right now, but we also have a lot of coaches. It seems like if somebody can't make a living, they become a voiceover coach. I mean, it's very difficult to make a living doing this these days. Unless you're an established talent, breaking in can be pretty tough. And I just want to remind everybody, if you have a question for Harlan, throw it in the chat room, because Jeff Holman's sitting there. He looks very lonely, and he will take those questions and get it to us in a second. See, now gave you a chance to think about your answer there, Harlan. So, with all these coaches out there,
I know, and I'm not saying that they're all bad, but there's an awful lot of people, with it's the get rich quick scheme, or come study and we'll do Zen, and the thing in the article that I disagree with is, you really should be taking improv classes because you're going to be doing commercials and you're going to be improving. Trust me, when you got 27 seconds to get something done, you're not improvising anything, and I think that's a false idea.
Yeah.
Perfect on stage, it makes sense. In fact, actually, at one time when Second City here in Chicago and Saturday Night Live was coming on, and we had John Belushi and all these wonderful people were coming in. My wife at the time was a very, very, very respected and very good voiceover talent agent. She found out that some of the ad agencies were hiring the people from Second City. When they'd get there, there was no script. They'd say, yeah, we're going to be selling this deodorant. What do you guys think? And several of them would come back and say, Leslie, what are we going to do? And she went to the union and straightened them out and said, we know what you're doing, so there's an improv fee. So they would get something like triple if they did improvisation. But there's just things out there. I saw this quote, and I'm not saying everybody is this, but it was from a financial guy, and I thought it was kind of interesting in terms of being coached or taught something. He said, you may notice there are so many gurus out there. Everyone is a guru. Why are they calling themselves gurus? I'll tell you why, because it's too difficult to pronounce and spell charlatan.
Yes.
I'm sure in the financial world, that's got to be a lot of it.
Very, very much so. Yeah. I mean, when someone's looking for a coach, got to look and see who are their clients, who are their students, how have they succeeded. What was this person's record? They did one national flight spot, and suddenly they're an expert, or as you said, a guru. How do you find a good coach? Do you still take any coaching?
No.
Okay, well, forget that then.
No. Well, from my wife, yeah, of course.
Of course. Well, that goes without saying.
No, I don't. But I did early on, but there weren't that many in Chicago. There were plenty in New York who were doing coaching, but hardly anyone. And you basically went and you got a little job or a little demo, and you learned from all these wonderful talents around you what works and what doesn't work because you're actually performing. But I'm kind of in, on both sides of that. You can certainly have someone who works with you on, let's say, your demo, who really knows what they're doing. That makes a lot of sense. But I do think you got to do a lot of research, because if I believed everything that I see in my mailbox every single day, and I do have it there because many of those people come to VoiceOver Essentials, so I want to see what are they being taught. I just saw a new one, and I don't want to go too close on it, but it was so vague that I had to read it 4 times to figure out what it was she was selling in this particular course.
Yeah.
And is this just me? So I sent it to a couple of other people around, who've been around a long time. They said, I have no idea what she's talking about. What does this have to do with voiceover? It was kind of a Zen kind of thing. You'll get in this mood and you'll read better, like showing up, read the words, clear. That's your job. If you want a good book on acting, get David Mamet's book. It's the only one that I think has any accuracy in it, rather than all this stuff. And I'm going to get a background and find out, what was I doing before I walked in the room? Mamet says, here's the script. Your job is delivered in a very clear voice. No cute voices. Just read the words that I wrote. The meaning is all in the words that are written. And he's right. If it's well written, it's there. You don't have to nudge it and laugh and turn it into something that isn't accurate. Now, he's basically talking about theater actors, but it's a heck of a book to read. Boy, he really is a good writer. Surprise.
Yeah, exactly. Once again, we're talking with Harlan Hogan. If you've got a question for him, throw it in the chat room, whether you're on Facebook Live or on YouTube or watching on our website. we want to hear your questions too, because Harlan just loves answering questions from all sorts of people, because he runs a business that it's all about voiceover, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Equipment has really changed the equation somewhat, and why we see so many people out there, trying to get into voiceover. Easier access to technically being able to compete has become a lot easier. What prompted you to start Voiceover Essentials?
Desperation. Kidding. Well, the story, it's such a bad joke, and I admit it, but for a long time, I think, hey, you know what? I've been doing this for 4 decades, 44 actually years, and I've never had to have a retail job. So I started the store so I could have a retail job. I mean, that's what actors do, right?
Yeah.
But the store came about because of a need I had, which was to record in hotel rooms and less than wonderful acoustic things. And that was coming out of doing the political jobs. When we're doing that during season, I mean, I've done a couple hundred in a season. You're just knocking them off, and then they change them the next day. And it's good work. But, for example, Jeff and I, who wrote some books about home studios, we're out in Las Vegas at the National Association of Broadcasters speaking. In fact, I think we rode in your car that one time, George, when we went over to have dinner with Jeff Fisher and me and you. And I took you to a great restaurant and big, beautiful steaks. That's when I discovered you're vegetarian.
No, I'm not vegetarian. I'm pescatarian.
Aha!
P-E-S-T.
That's very funny. But I started working on some way to do it beyond just building pillow forts, because that's what we used to do. Put it was pillows or hide or wherever to try to get the glass down. Of course, there, everybody wants to see the strip, so you've got miles of glass, right? And talk about a bass trap.
Yeah.
But that's when I started playing around with it and making some things out of foam core and this and that, and putting acoustic stuff in. I just put it out because we had written 2 books. Just put it on the internet and said, okay, here's a way you can record on the road on the cheap. And that was basically taking this little laundry thing that I'd found at Target for about $7 and did caution them to buy real acoustic foam. There's another area where you see people selling.
Oh boy, there's so much
junk.
crap
Oh
foam
my
on
God.
Amazon.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. And they just lie. Those guys just lie.
Yeah.
So I got it, and I wrote a little article. I taught them how to cut foam, because you can't cut it with the scissors because it compresses. Yeah. And just set it out there. And people kept writing me saying, oh, I made one of these. Actually, one time early on when I first started making them, this woman complained because she had made a porta booth, and she didn't use, and she flat out said, I used a cardboard box and a such and such, and it just doesn't work well. I give it no stars. Well, duh. Are you nuts? But they're out there. But then it kept getting people saying, well, could I buy one of these things? One of the things was a big sheet of Oralex, or what's the other one that's really good? Oralex is my favorite.
Maybe.
But yeah. 4x8 sheet, you'd have to get about 5 friends together and then make these panels and put them in there. Yeah. So eventually you think, dummy, these people are asking about these. Well, maybe I'll make some. So I did. I made 10 of them and priced them at like $75. I didn't know, but it was, I cut the foam, put it together in the basement. They'd sold out immediately. And so I started making them here. So in addition to doing voiceover and everything else, I was manufacturing them here. And then little by little, they got more sophisticated. I found a company who could build the pros are beautifully, the workmanship on it is fabulous. And so once I had that, it was like, well, we got to put it on the internet. I'm going to go to Amazon, of course, and eBay, and Walmart. And so I started looking. There's the dogs. That's Leslie. Thank you. There's nothing we can do about it. Just sit tight. But I started looking at a lot of the stuff out there, and there they are. Hey, Jack. Hey, it's Mom. Everybody tells him he has a good bark. Every single, he's got a great bark. He does, very good.
Get that dog a job. Yeah.
One of the things that did occur to me when I was kind of thinking about getting that product into something like BSW or B&H and I started looking at the catalogs and the amount of stuff. No wonder the first 3 questions are, what microphone should I buy? Can I get an agent? You have 100 different microphones, and they all sound great on piano and drums and vocal. No, they don't. That's when I started talking to MXL about it and developing the VO1A, which they did a fabulous job on, which Dan is pointing to. It's a great mic, and we've kept the price under $400, despite inflation. And I'm very proud of that and the way they built it. And you always gave us a great review on it. And then you kind of go, well, what else could somebody use? And the sign came along, and then the cans came along. They had headphones. But I've kept it now. We still only have about 12 items in it at one time. I don't need to have 2 or 3 things. And hopefully someone who's new and they know that they can trust me, and I'll buy that mic and I'll get these things, and we're in business.
Well, it's the problem solving stuff that I tend to appreciate the most. Like the ABS, the adjustable boom stop. I mean, that's a unique device that fixes a real problem, because so many people get boom stands at Banjo Emporium, and they don't hold the weight of a professional mic. Not by the least. They're made to hold like an SM58. Well, this is a fake one, but
it's a rubber
they're
chicken.
made to hold one of these, and that's about it. That's about what they can muster, And
the only thing worse would be that soap one that you can buy and sing in the shower. That was really cool.
I think if I cut the end of this off, it's sponge on the inside. That might work. But yeah,
exactly.
that was a really clever solution to a problem, and I thought that was great. And it's just, it's great making a product that people ask for, and then just exceeding their expectations and making it better and better. It's a really cool thing. And like you said, I'm not trying to sell 100 things. You're just hand choosing the right stuff people need.
Yeah, you're right. And that is very rewarding. I mean, it really is. And the thing I always looked at was not so much, some people want a dynamic. We're used to cardioid condenser microphones. Well, what's better? It isn't really the question what's better. What does our client, particularly on an audition or a job, expect to hear?
Mm-hmm.
So if you go in there with a cheap, crappy mic and it sounds like hell, your odds are greatly reduced of not getting the job.
Or if you have a decent mic, but it's just a completely wrong mic for the job, that can still shoot you in the foot. And you can spend a lot of money on a not correct microphone, because there's a lot of mics out there for podcasting, and they're not the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
I find a lot of people
if it's $39, it's not good. Let's just put that.
Well, even if it's $300, there's some not good microphones out there because they're not made for voiceover.
Yeah. Don't buy stuff off Facebook. I think it's the best thing to
Facebook
think about
ads.
with that. But a lot of people keep buying these SM7Bs, and I'm like, why? Who is suggesting this?
I'm hoping I got that out of the one catalog that was promoting it heavily the last couple of years. I would every year I'd email some sales reps. Say, can you get that mic? Can you take the word voiceover out of the description of this microphone, please?
Really. Yes, please. It's not. But it is interesting too, because at the time when I started, the first thing past the porta boots was that nobody at that time had even in any of their ads, Sennheiser or whoever or Rode or no one ever mentioned voiceover, ever. It's great for singing, it's great for stage, it's great for everything. And I thought, okay, I see a niche here or niche, but if I say, and we did design it, we softened the polar and we put very good JFETs in it and Mogami wire. The only place we didn't spend too much money is the outer tube, because that would have cost a fortune to create. Mm-hmm. So it has that standard look. Sometimes people got confused and thought that the less expensive version, looks like it. And but you got to know, if that thing's $79 and this one is $389, there certainly is a difference. Oh, yeah. Wake up.
Absolutely. Yeah, this mic's got all the best, like you said, the best components.
Yeah. Once again, we're talking with Harlan Hogan, and if you have a question for him, we'd like to hear from you, because you can go in the chat room and you can type out that question, and Jeff Holman will sit there and look at it and go, yeah, that's a good question, and pass it on to us, and we'll get to that in our next segment. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break. I still got a couple of things that Harlan and I want to talk about, and we'll do that right after this.
This is the Latin lover narrator from Jane the Virgin, Anthony Mendez, and you're enjoying Dan and George on The Voiceover Body Shop.
Sue. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
This is usually where we have our voiceover essentials spot. So I figured I'd give Harlan the opportunity to sell it himself, because I'm doing it every week, but he's the man. And tell us why people should go to Voiceover Essentials.
Is this live?
Yes, it's live.
Oh, okay. Because we narrow it down to the really good stuff. If I got my name on it, it's going to be good. And you can send it back if you don't like it. I think I'm still the only mic manufacturer anywhere that allows you to return a microphone. And I encourage them. We don't ask if it isn't for you, because every mic will sound different, right, Dan, on different voices. And sometimes it doesn't work as well. Send it back. Because I have a bunch of things over here that I purchased and thought, it's okay, but not great. And also just keep it simple, and try to improve the product every time. We do have each time. I've got a stand finally. It's developed. They've been delivered. It will hold your Portabooth Pro or Plus. Beautifully made. Totally adjustable, 8 pounds. And that'll be the next product that I put out, because we've always needed it. We had a stand for a while, but it was so heavy. It was unbelievably heavy. It cost more to ship it than make it. And we sold them, but then, nowadays sounds like a really old guy. But now, UPS guy, whoever USPS gets it and then tries to, not break it, breaks.
Yeah. Now, you still offer free shipping?
Oh, on that stand we did, because we had to, because otherwise we were charging more for shipping than the product itself.
Right.
But we no longer have it. It was way too heavy, way too much warehousing and stuff. So this new one you could actually travel with. And like I've always done, you take an existing product and find a way to make it better for voiceover, not for any other reason. So what we needed on this product was more height, did a lot of negotiating with the factory, because if you ever go into the world of getting things from not necessarily just China, but other countries, you say, what would it cost if I could take that product and do this, that, and the other, and then you get a quote back and you say, hey, that's not bad. We can sell that very reasonably and make a little money on it. And then you realize there's this thing called an MOQ. You know what an MOQ is, Dan?
I do not know what an MOQ is.
You will now know. So you say, we get that thing and we can sell these. MOQ means minimum order quantity. So you say, one of these, that's going to be $29. In China, in particular, it's very rare to have anything less than 1,000 in the MOQ. Well, hey, I'm not that big, and I don't have a huge warehouse here. We'd have to move out. It's tough.
Yeah.
You can't do. That's where, say, for example, MXL was so great, because they could say, okay, Harlan, we'll give you an MOQ of 100 on these and see how you do. That I could handle.
All righty. Go on over to voiceoveressentials.com because this guy says you should, and I say you should. We'll be right back. George has to talk to you about Source Connect. Right, George?
You got it. Should we go straight to it? Why not? No bumper needed. So Source Connect, another one of our sponsors, the parent company, being Source Elements, actually. And what's funny is we're keeping it in Chicago tonight because one of the founders of Source Elements, Robert Marshall, is also in the Chicago area. So how about that for regionalism for our show? But Source Elements is a very, very well thought out product because their Source Connect product particularly is something that is been honed and improved and fine-tuned to be the perfect way to connect studios between each other and still maintain the highest of audio quality. There's no drifting of sync. If there are any sound dropouts, it has a built-in tool set called Cue Manager, which will replace any dropped out audio automatically in the producer's session. It's incredible. And it's actually surprising how few producers bother to use this function because it does work so well most of the time. But with Cue Manager, it takes care of concern about dropouts in audio when you've got your kids playing a video game while you're trying to record, or who knows what. There could be anything between you and the studio halfway around the world that could cause issues. So the system backs that up for you automatically. It can even, with Cue Manager, replace whole audio tracks from the compressed data audio file that's basically AAC with a completely undata compressed WAV file and just do this automatically, completely in the background after the session. So it's really amazing tool, and it's integrated so well for producers that it's the reason you as actors should have it. So go to source-elements.com, get a 15-day free trial, and ask them for support because their support is fantastic. I'm telling you. So thanks again for your support, Source Elements, and let's go on to the rest of the show.
Well, hey there, it's David H. Lawrence with VO Heroes, and wouldn't it be cool if there was a very simple tool, drag and drop tool, that would guarantee that the audio you need to upload to ACX or any other audiobook platform is perfectly set up in terms of the text standards, the root mean square normalization, the peak normalization, the noise floor? Guess what? There is. And I want you to have it absolutely free. It's called Audio Cupcake, and you can find it at audiocupcake.com. I helped create this software. It was built to my specs and my standards for when I do audiobooks, and I know it's going to work for you. Now, it's only available for Macintosh because you Windows users, you have the ability to use other tools that work for you. But in this case, you edit your final raw WAV file for a chapter, you drop it onto Audio Cupcake, and out comes the 192K mono MP3 file you can upload immediately. That's audiocupcake.com, audiocupcake.com. I hope you love it.
This is Bill Radner, and you're enjoying VoiceOver Body Shop with Dan Leonard and George Whittam. VOBS.TV.
And we're back with Harlan Hogan. Again, if you've got a question, throw it in the chat room. We have room for a couple of questions here. George, you want to take that first one from Justin Ramos?
Happy to do it. All right, Justin, thanks for your question. He came in on YouTube. And the question is, what is an improv fee, and does it still exist and or apply to voice acting? Is it only for union jobs? My understanding is you can do a bit of improv for an audition, but charging the client for that? I've never heard of this. Does this ring a bell to anybody else?
On me.
No, not you either, Harlan?
No, not an audition. And as I said, for a while, their producers here were taking advantage of the Second City people, but that's gone. That's a job. You're going to get paid because you're basically writing the script.
I wonder if he meant an audition fee versus an improv fee.
Yeah.
But
even
it's
then,
been proposed a lot of times over the negotiations that I've been involved with from time to time with the union, trying to give back a little bit. And I do believe in the UK that you get paid for an audition. I could be wrong on that, but I think they do. And you can see some, well, particularly if you're auditioning and working out in LA and you can't even park the car. I love when they have a sign that says no auditions because you can't park there. Yeah, yes. Thank you. And, and if you got to go from William Morris and you want to go it's like 3 hours. When I was just out there, I came back and said, I've finally figured out the traffic in Los Angeles. It consists of standing still or going 100 miles an hour. That's it. There's nothing in between. That's how they drive.
It's up in rapid succession, yeah.
Yeah. You have to have a lot of patience to drive here, which I have oodles of. I don't know about you, George, but, you're on the highway more than I am. But downtown, finding a place to park, almost impossible. And because of that, we should charge a fee for that. But, at least give us a quarter for the meter.
Something, yeah.
Gotcha.
They do have in the contracts, if you are at a cattle call, basically, and there is, I forget the exact amount of time you can be sitting there waiting to go in an audition. And if they keep you too long, then they have to pay you.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's been there for decades. I don't know how many people enforce it. I mean, generally, I don't think I've ever enforced it because usually you're there with your friends that you haven't seen in a while. We're all going to go have a beer 10 minutes from now.
Yeah.
So, I can sit here.
Well, yes.
But you can see the logic of it. If you had a session coming up, you better get paid for this.
Sue mentioned something about Second City at some time actually paying something called an improv fee because you're basically writing the ad for them. Was that a thing? Or that's probably long gone, right?
I think it's still in the contract, and I know I was so proud of my wife for going to the union and saying, "Hey, no, this is not right. I can't send this talent over there and ask them to write your scripts." I haven't looked at the contracts in a long time, but I think it's in there. Yeah, and it should be. I mean, it makes total sense.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about doing improv, taking a class here and there, so we keep ourselves a little sharper when we get a script, because you just want to do something different sometimes when you're doing an audition. Ellen Cochran asks, and she's on YouTube, "Hi, Harlan. I am loving your experience. How did you handle the evolution of technology as you were doing voiceover?"
Very well, thank you. I have really given a lot of thought to this with a smile. But when I look at my age now, and I always was interested in sound. My grandparents lived in this little apartment, and they had a little tube that you push the button and you say, "Hi, Grandma, hi." Even then, and my mom was a dancer, so she had a record player, and she taught dance in the basement to kids who wanted to learn how to dance. So there were always records around. There's always sound around. I would get in trouble all the time listening to radio stations, with a flashlight reading and listening. You know what a crystal set is? My dad and I built one of those. Look it up. You'll see. It's amazing thing that you can build with a kid. They still make them, I think.
Didn't you attach it to the radiator in your house or something like that?
You needed a ground. Yeah, you had the ground, and you've got this little crystal, a thing called a whisker.
Whisker,
Whisker. And you do that and you move. It is magical. You move it like, hey, you get something out of St. Louis. It's a 500,000 watt radio station. So I was always, my dad would come up, he was a steel worker, so he was a little more straighter than my mom and I. I'd be like, "What are you doing?" I'm just going to bed, Dad." "Go to bed." "Okay." But I was always on the radio. Then my sister, who's 5 years older, she, by then was 45s were coming out, and you're listening to all the disc jockeys on, which record's climbing, which one's going down. And I remember when stereo came out. That was a big deal. Disney did a thing on television, and what they did. And I love that show when Walt Disney hosted it. You guys are too young, but he hosted
The Wonderful World of Color.
Yeah, that's right. That was the name of it. Yeah. So they said, hey, next time, get your radio that you have, which everybody did. We had this kind of orangish Motorola thing, but, it's mono. Get that and put that X feet away from your television set, and you'll experience stereo. And that's the first time they ever heard, it's classic. Here comes the train. And then my dad knew somebody that had a record player. Then I was in junior high school, and our teacher, Mr. Jones, had an Ampex 601 tape recorder. Ooh. And that was a serious tape recorder with a shiny silver microphone, and he kept us in line doing old radio shows, which I love doing. I think this is so much fun. So all of a sudden, I wanted a tape recorder. And then, graduating from junior high to go to high school, hey, they were like $75. It was not $75 for recording machines, but I did get a Wilcox Gay Recordio, one of the worst recording devices ever. I did read that Johnny Cash had one too, so I felt better. Crappy little microphone, but I loved that tape recorder. And then I started recording other people more than myself. I didn't even look at performing that way. And then all the high school plays and all of that stuff. And then there was paper tape and there's wire. I have a wire recorder here that actually works from the 40s.
Yeah,
really fun to turn
and
on.
this thing weighs a ton too.
Oh God, yeah. You know how you work it if you've got to make a splice. You tie a knot in the wire, and it kind of flops past the head, and then all of a sudden, we've got records, we've got all this stuff, and then CDs, and of course the cassette thing, because our demos were all on 5-inch reels of tape in a little white box. Those of you who are younger, this is a thing that goes around and around and around. And so that's how you did your demo, and everybody wrote their name on the end. And when I got into the business, because I wanted to be different, I wanted to get recognized, I had a label printed up, in like fluorescent orange. It wasn't fancy, but, Postal Instant Press was on Michigan Avenue. So I had them print this up, and it's an Harlan Hogan demo, Volume 1. And I had a number of people say, why did you do that? What do you mean? No, we all write our name on the end, with a felt pen. And then, that's how it's done. Well, I'll tell you what, before long, I'll have my demos out in 4 color. And they laughed at me. And they didn't laugh for long because I did it. And just promote. I'm a big fan of looking at Barnum in particular, man. Barnum has a wonderful line. I'm going to kind of follow how interesting P.T. Barnum was, and how, even though we think of him as a humbug and all of that, but people then enjoyed it. They knew it wasn't a mermaid. They knew it wasn't whatever it was he was showing in his dime thing. But he always had this great quote. I've always remembered it. Without promotion, something terrible happens.
Nothing.
And that's how I've lived my life, man. You got to keep promoting.
Yeah.
We
got one more question here from Linda Joyce Minor. It says, Harlan, can
There's
I
another
use
one too? It's just not in there yet, but we'll get to it.
Yeah. Can I use your mic, and I'm the VO1A, for voiceover and for my studies in opera, which I use to improve my voice studies in voiceover? Can you use this for singing opera?
Sure, absolutely. Just get back a little bit if you're really hitting those notes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't put it on a bass drum. I wouldn't put it on a piano. But yeah, I think, in fact, I don't remember her name right now, but she's a very good operatic singer in Washington, D.C. that I know does use it. And she does voiceover. She's got a wonderful demo where she's talking to her husband. It's the dialogue, which is nice. It's hard to get good dialogue. They're going to the opera, and her husband doesn't want to go. Well, let's skip this one. And right in the middle of it, she says, oh, yeah? And she just bursts into this beautiful opera. I mean, she's really a wonderful singer. Pause. Okay, we'll go. And, sometimes you can take that other skill and throw it in there, and I just love her demo for that.
Yeah, I think it's important to realize, like, if it's a good condenser mic for a voice, it's going to be a good condenser mic for a voice, whether it's speaking or singing, because, it's an instrument. You have dynamic range. It's capturing the full audible range of your human voice no matter what. So, yeah, that's absolutely true. Here's one from a name that you might recognize. This is from James R. Alberger. And he says, I'd love to hear your story about the session when the director said your read was a bit burgundy and he'd like it to be a bit more rosé.
Yeah. The descriptions, I kind of, I'm selective on stuff. So if I get a script, even before I look at the script, if there's 2 pages of direction, I don't want to do this session. This is going to be blooper soap. If they have to take 2 pages to describe, we want someone young but also old. My favorite in the last couple of years was we want a Morgan Freeman type, but young and no ethnicity. Who are these people?
They have an idea in their mind what they want to hear, but they forget they're talking to other humans.
I don't want to argue with you, but what I see is they don't know what it is they want. They tell you what it is that they don't want.
Right.
And then, of course, oh, yeah, I want to sound like so-and-so, or Adam Driver, or whatever star is working this week. I'm old enough that I don't know most of those people anyway, so I don't bother.
Have you ever seen somebody? You ever seen your own name on the direction saying
yes,
should more Harlan Hogan like?
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely.
And did you get the gig?
Yeah. Actually, when
happen.
My wife, before Leslie became my wife 34 years ago, 34 out of 100 isn't bad, but she would get a call from time to time. She would laugh about something. Hey, hi, Leslie. Yeah, we want a Harlan Hogan type. And she would say, well, we represent Harlan Hogan. Yeah, I know that, but he's on too many things. I just want someone like him. And it was always so hard for her not to laugh, like, well, I'm his wife, but don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But there's that.
Yeah.
If you can get a client to actually not call you announcer anymore and you've got your name on it. I had a fast food fish place called Skipper Buds, something like that, Skipper Buds, and worked on actually with ISDN at that point, with the organization in St. Louis. I'm on the motorcycle. I'm out on the East Coast riding around, and I see one of the Captain D's. That was it. We don't have them in Chicago, so I stopped and was sweating like a pig, of course. But I took a photo of the Captain D's and then just sent it to the recording studio. And I said, so even on vacation, Mr. Hogan thinks about nothing but Captain D's. They thought it was hysterical, so they sent the photo over to the Captain D's people. And son of a gun. From that day on, all the scripts said Harlan. They now knew my name.
Wow.
Hey, man, this is rather than an announcer, Harlan.
Yeah.
Pretty much a couple of years doing that gig because, they can't get rid of Harlan. What are they going to do?
Yeah. Well, Harlan, your name is well known out there, and we really, really appreciate you coming on tonight and telling us your stories and making the stuff that you make. So keep doing that.
I will.
All righty.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being with us tonight. All right, we'll be right back to wrap things up and re-rack it for Tech Talk right after these messages.
You're still watching VOBS?
Your dynamic voiceover career requires extra resources to keep moving ahead. There's one place where you can explore everything the voiceover industry has to offer. That place is voiceoverextra.com. Whether you're just exploring a voiceover career or a seasoned veteran ready to reach that next professional level, stay in touch with market trends, coaching, products, and services while avoiding scams and other pitfalls. VoiceOver Extra has hundreds of articles, free resources, and training that will save you time and help you succeed. Learn from the most respected talents, coaches, and industry insiders when you join the online sessions, bringing you the most current information on topics like audiobooks, auditioning, home studio setup and and equipment, marketing, performance techniques, and much more. It's time to hit your one-stop daily resource for voiceover success. Sign up for a free subscription to newsletters and reports. It's all here at voiceoverextra.com. That's voiceoverextra.com.
Well, it's time to talk about a company that I have a very good relationship with because it was my idea. It's voiceactor.com. Voiceactor.com from voiceactorwebsites.com. What is it? It is a templated website where you can make templated websites. Because as a voice actor, you have to have a website. And Joe Davis and the folks over at voiceactor.com came up with all sorts of templates. And the great thing about a template is it's just a template. You can put whatever pictures you want in there, whatever color scheme you want. But most importantly, and everybody forgets this when they're putting their voice actor website together, there's three things you got to have. Well, your name, your demos so they can hear what you sound like, and your contact information. What else do you need? You have to show them how artsy-fartsy you are with these things? No. Use a template. Make it quick. You can do it for free at voiceactor.com. And then if you like the site you have, it's $20 a month, and they have all sorts of other services, but you can get yourself up and running in half an hour, not 6 months. Go over to voiceactor.com right now. Tell them I sent you.
We are the World Voices Organization,
also known as WOVO. We're the not-for-profit industry association of freelance voice talent. Voiceover is a complex entrepreneurial business.
WOVO is there to promote the professional nature of voice work to the public, to those already established in their voiceover practice,
and to those who want to pursue voiceover as a career.
Membership benefits include
a supportive and creative community,
a profile and demos on voiceover.biz, our searchable directory of vetted professional voice talent,
our exclusive demo player for your personal website,
our mentoring program, business resources, and our video library,
our annual WOVOCon conference, a fun and educational weekend with other members with the chance to learn and network,
webinars and great speakers, and weekly social chats with other members around the world.
If your world is voiceover,
make WOVO part of it. World Voices Organization.
We speak for those who speak for a living.
Yeah, hi, this is Carlos Alazraqui, the voice of Rocco, and you're watching Voiceover Body Shop.
And it's time to say goodbye and then re-rack it for Tech Talk. See, you folks that are watching the show live right now, you can stay around for Tech Talk and ask your questions and get them in. And so that's really important. Anyway, thanks to Harlan Hogan for joining us tonight and all his stories. Always fun to talk to. Next week on the show, you'll hear and see Tech Talk number 111, which we're about to do.
111.
That's right. You've got discounts for people, George?
Yep, you can head over to georgethe.tech/VOBS. That's the landing page for the show, and you'll find our coupon code. Go check it out and see what we have to offer for you, and take a look around.
All righty. And thanks to our donors of the week. Let's see how fast we can do it. Greg Cooper.
Grace Newton.
Christopher Epperson.
Robert Leadham.
Stephen Chandler.
Casey Clack.
Jonathan Grant.
Thomas Pinto.
Greg Thomas.
A Doctor Voice.
Antland Productions.
Martha Kahn.
949 Designs.
It's Lee.
Yeah.
Sarah Borges.
Philip Sapir.
Brian Page.
Rob Ryder.
Shauna Pennington Baird.
Don Griffith.
Trey Mosley.
Diana Birdsall.
Maria Mackis.
And Sandra Manwiller. Hey, you can donate to the show if you want us to maintain the amazing technical quality, which is about to take a quantum leap, we hope.
Don't sell it too hard yet.
we'll see. We're trying something new, but we'll see.
We're trying something new soon, yeah.
Yes. Join our mailing list, too, because then you'll know who's going to be on. And just to go to our website, vobs.tv, and click on Join our mailing list. Need to thank our sponsors. Of course, our good friend Harlan Hogan's Voiceover Essentials.
Voiceover Extra.
Source Elements.
VOHeroes.com.
VoiceActor.com.
And
WorldVoices.org, where I am currently the president. So join up. We got lots of cool stuff for you. We need to thank, of course, Jeff Holman for doing all that great stuff. IMDb.me, Jeff Holman. Got to go there. And doing all the work in the chat room and in Facebook and all that kind of stuff.
Holman.
Holman.
Jeff.
Right.
And of course, his first and last name could be spelled multiple ways.
Good point. We also need to thank the one and only Sue Merlino for directing us and making it all work every week when we do this show. And of course, Lee Penny for just being Lee Penny. All right, we're going to re-rock it and get ready for Tech Talk. If you have a question for us, throw it in the chat room. In the meantime, look, this isn't an easy business. Harlan will tell you, it's not an easy business. Hard to get into, hard to maintain a career at it, but we're here to give you the information you need to make sure that you're doing everything you can to make your sound really good. But we found that, really, if it sounds good,
it is good.
I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
Or VOBS. See you next time, kids. All righty.
Time to stand up.
Okay. I'm still sitting down in my
changing
X chair.
The energy. The energy.
Yeah. So we got lots of cool stuff to talk about. This is Tech Talk number 111. Because last week was 110. You know, we had over 10,000 views last week.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Was Netflix offline?
I guess so. You know, it's all repeats and shows that you have to read. I
still haven't made it through Suits yet. For God's sake, that thing goes on forever.
Well, they all do. Started watching Succession. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. These are not nice people. I don't want to watch a show about not nice people.
Yeah, no, really.
Yeah. All righty. Okay, so if you've got a question for us, throw it in the chat room. If it has to do with your home studio or technology, we'd love to hear from you. So get those questions in there now, and I know that Jeff will get to those. All righty, we're ready to roll.
Comment, Jeff. When I see your comment, I'm going to pin that thing. I promise.
Okay. Are we ready, Sue? Okay,
yeah,
she's giving us her hand, and now, okay, hand. 5, 4, 3. Hey, it's time for VoiceOver Body Shop. Tech Talk. Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
All right.
Yeah.
Lots of Tech Talk. Again, if you have a question, if you're watching us live, and you're smart to watch us live because then you can ask your question and we will answer that question. Anything to do with your home voiceover studio, throw it in the chat room, and Jeff, aside from saying Tech Talk, will also write down that question and give it to us so we can answer it in the way that George and I always do, which is the correct way. Anyway, it's time for VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk right now. VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk is brought to you by VoiceOverEssentials.com, the home of Harlan Hogan's signature products. Source Elements, the folks who bring you Source Connect. VOHeroes.com, become a hero to your clients with award-winning voiceover training. VoiceActor.com, your voiceover website ready in minutes. VoiceOver Extra, your daily resource for voiceover success. And by World Voices, the Industry Association of Freelance Voice Talent. And now, here's your hosts, Dan and George. Well, hello there. Just to make things straight, I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
Or VOBS. Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
All right. It's Tech Talk number 111. We've been doing this a long time. Therefore, we know everything. Well, at least we think we do.
We know everything up until this moment.
Yes, but
we haven't forgotten anything.
We have no. We did. Listen, I've probably forgotten more than some people actually know, but that's the great thing about having done this for so many years. You know, when we started, we knew what we were doing, and then we learned more because now we're the experts. Because we were already the experts, and now we know more stuff than you could ever know about your home voiceover studio.
And we have forgotten more stuff than you could ever know about.
Yeah, it's always like
stuff.
somebody gives us something like, "Why does it sound like this? What could it be? What could it be?" And you go through this list of things, and it's like, "Oh, that's what it is. Try that. Oh, yeah, that fixed it."
It makes you feel good when that happens.
It does, you know, because people think that you're brilliant. It's like, no, we've only seen this 20 times before. We just have to remember that's what it was. You know, turn your mic around.
It's not brilliance, it's experience.
Exactly. Experience pays. And if you want to have a great home voiceover studio, one, I would suggest don't ask in social media, what's the best way to do this or the best way to do that? What mic should I buy? All this stuff. Instead, work with people that have the experience, as I was just saying. We've been doing this for a combined well over 30 years in this really specific niche area of voiceover, which is home voiceover studios. And what is a home voiceover studio? It's whatever you want it to be. And more importantly, what you need it to be, which sometimes isn't exactly what you want it to be, because it doesn't have to be aesthetically pleasing unless you're building a really nice place. And George, you're a contractor, and you sort of build these really beautiful studios for people who can afford really good studios.
I am definitely not a contractor.
Okay, you're not. I'm sorry. We are in California. You help other people with that kind of stuff.
I help design these things, but contracting. Oh boy, that's a. No, I mean, it doesn't have to look like a studio. You might want what's in frame on your webcam to look acceptable. Like right now, just off frame, this place is an absolute disaster, but you would never know that. But the key thing is like it has to sound good. So that's what we do. That's what we're into. And I can help you with that over at georgethe.tech. That's my place on the web for support. And we call ourselves Performer Friendly Techs because we're here to help performers of all kinds with their technology. Voice actors, podcasters, streamers, home musicians who have to kind of sort of work their way through a mess of wiring and other things to get what they need recorded and what they need to hear in their headphones. We can help you with all that stuff at georgethe.tech. And Dan, what you doing over there on your website?
We're over at homevoiceoverstudio.com.
Yeah, that place.
All sorts of stuff. I talk about what you really need for voiceover, and I do consults with people. You know, whether you've got equipment or not, I can get you up and running pretty quickly. And you'll realize that doing voiceover from your home is not rocket science. There are techniques you have to know. I teach those techniques. I will work with you privately to make sure that you get that done properly. And when I say it's good, it is good. Or it sounds what it's supposed to sound like.
With soul.
So, and there's a way, and we know what that way is, and we know how to achieve that. So if you want to work with me, go on over to homevoiceoverstudio.com, where I also have my specimen collection cup, and for $25, I will analyze your audio and tell you what you need to make it right. And it's not a matter of enhancing it. It's usually a matter of proper recording techniques, which I will be happy to explain to you. Anyway, it's time for George's tech update, whatever it is that he's been browsing the internet with this week, and go ahead and tell us what you got.
All right, let's do it. So last week I got to do a field trip, and it was a lot of fun. I was invited in. Well, I kind of invited myself, but I was welcomed to come up and visit the folks at vocalbooth.com. Admittedly, they're a brand that you probably haven't heard us mention all that often on the show. There's a few others that have kind of gotten a lot of the spotlight the last so many years, and, good marketers, the new kid on the block, etc., right? But vocalbooth.com has been there a long time. In fact, 26 years in business and continuous operation, creating voiceover booths. And it was a really great experience because the reason I was there, and by the way, they're up in Bend, Oregon. And if you like outdoors, holy smoke, Bend, Oregon is incredible. So much great outdoor activity there, mountain climbing, skiing, mountain biking, fishing, etc. But the whole point of why I went there was Vocal Booth has been around a long time. Again, they have a consistent track record of how the booths are built, the quality, and they have, something I forgot that they do, which is they build the cost of shipping into the prices. So when you're shopping on their website, everything is priced, well, as shipped, right? However, they've had this one, to me, a shortcoming, and that has been the acoustics. And, because I think they build a booth that solves the problem for many people, but they hadn't inspected it closely for acoustics for voiceover actors. And, I've dealt with so many products over the years, and I thought, I wonder if they have an interest in improving the acoustical sound of their booths. We know they have good isolation. I know they have amazing ventilation, but the acoustics was something that I just was never really that super sold on. So guess what? We did a little collab. I went up there and I did some design work with their basically their production manager, who is in charge of making everything there. I mean, he comes up with the actual fabrication process for materials and gets all that stuff together. And he came up with some paneling based on my ideas for materials and size and all that stuff. We tested them out and we came out with some excellent new products. By the time this one airs, some of you are watching this live, but by the time this comes out in a week, those products might already be available to purchase. If not on the website, you can email them and find out. But I did some tests and I thought maybe I could take a minute here or so, and I'll play back some samples I recorded in the booth with a TLM 103. I had Freddie, who helps run the company over there. I said, hey, do you happen to have a TLM 103? This is the torture test microphone for a booth. And he said, yeah, I actually do have one. So he had brought his mic in and we tested a few others. And I tried it. I tried his 4x4 vocal booth, which is probably one of the most common sizes in terms of people buying a studio for home. And I tested it with the TLM 103, totally bone stock, exactly as the booth comes. And this is what that sounded like. And it's not terrible, but let's see if we can hear the difference. Here's the stock format. All right, this is our control. So now we're in the vocal booth 4x4 in stock form. This is just the 2-inch panel on the ceiling, 2-inch foam on the walls, TLM 103. Let's be a little bit more true to life and bring the mic in a little bit closer in my recommended placement, which would be fist to thumb distance off to my right. And let's get into it. 1, 2.
A little bit of bass resonance in there.
There's the resonant ring. Hear it ring. Now it really is ringing. I got that ring. Yeah. Yes, that's what I do. I think Dan does this. We go into booths, we make sounds, and we listen, right?
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2,
So,
1, 2.
Yeah. So you hear that, and you can clearly hear the booth's resonances. It has a ring to it, et cetera, et cetera. So then we set up the new materials that we are working on, and this is what it sounded like. All right. Here's my favorite torture test mic, TLM 103. For whatever reason, I have it upside down right now. It doesn't really need to be, but it is, and it's in the corner in the same placement as before. But this time now we're using our foam material panels, not the rock wool. And I'm standing center of the booth. Mic is, well, almost a foot away from me right now. So this is what I'm sounding like a foot away. This is what I'm sounding like as I move in towards the microphone. starting to get into a sweeter spot, starting to get in the proximity effect zone. There we are, deep into the proximity effect zone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There, that's as deep as my voice is going to get. There you go. So
quite the difference there.
Quite the difference, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that amazed me the most, I think, was that it sounded better with the treatment added in, a full foot away from the mic, and it sounded when you were close to the mic without the treatment, which was a really cool test, because I have been telling folks for years, if you want to get your little booth sounding better, get closer to the mic. And yeah, that is a quick fix, but there's no substitute for good treatment. And wow, what a difference it made. And it was just a really great opportunity to experiment, to have access to materials, the booths, space, time, etc., and do tests like this. I did recordings like this with an NT1 because we had one of those on hand, and I brought along a shotgun mic, the Rode NTG5, did similar tests with that mic. So it would give us a few mics to compare. Again, the TLM-103, I always call that the torture test. That mic picks up every damn thing, and it was really good. I did an interview on my other show, the Pro Audio Suite, with Freddie. The two of us standing side by side in the 4x6 booth, just sharing a single TLM-103. So we didn't want to get too friendly. So the mic was, it was a solid foot to maybe even 1.5 feet away from us. So it was not that close. And, when that comes out, you guys, I think it'll be out next week. You'll get to hear what that sounded like. Again, surprisingly good. So I'm just saying, I'm really glad that they were willing to collaborate with me. Once these products come out, you'll see them start appearing on the website. There'll be an instant upgrade that you can easily install in the Platinum or Gold series. In the Silver series, it'll take a little bit more installation effort, but they're going to come up with systems for that as well. But again, on the Gold and the Platinums, it'll be an instant, just put it wherever you need it at any height that you need to get the sound that you want. So anyway, that was a really cool experience and a nice group of guys over there. So the podcast will have out soon. I've also did an interview of the owner of the company, and I did an interview. Actually, I did a factory tour where I walked all through the factory, showing all the different processes that go into building one of their booths. So that stuff will all be up on George the Tech YouTube one of these days. So kudos to Vocal Booth for reaching out and, being willing to bring in some from the outside.
Yeah, they haven't. A lot of companies don't regularly consult with us. They don't read. They need to know we're here, and that we know what voice actors do and how that's done. So
yeah, I have to say, their customer service excellent. They really listen to people's needs, and they do a lot of custom stuff, far more than you would think. They can custom shape and size their booths almost unlimited. So if you need it really short, probably the only game in town. Let's say you need a booth that's fitting a 6.5 foot ceiling basement. They can do it. They can actually cut their booths down. Even the doors, they make their doors in-house. They actually 100% from the slab. They cut they have the milling machine to cut the doors. It's really cool. You'll see the video when it comes out. Moving on, a little PSA. When you get a USB mic or an interface, consider where you plug it into your system. Now, some folks are going to have a hub. Many people have hubs because computers these days, MacBooks especially, have only 2 or 3 ports, right? So they really have shrunk down the number of ports. So we all have hubs. But I'm going to tell you, it's probably the best bet to try to make sure your mic or your USB interface is plugged directly into the computer, not into a hub. I just had a client, she got a brand new Rode NT1 5th gen, and she sent me recordings, and I was hearing like this weird high-pitched, sort of a whistling, hissing sound. It was weird. It was a weird noise. And I said, I think something's not going on. Can you make sure that's plugged directly into the computer? When she did that, the noise floor changed dramatically. All the weird interference, hissing, whining that was there. Again, it was subtle. I could have processed it out, but that was my job, to evaluate the audio, and I heard it And when she took that directly into the computer, all the mic was hearing at that point was just the room tone, whatever the sound of her room was, and it made a difference. So that's just a tricky one. Really make sure your mics are, your interfaces, whenever possible, are really going directly into the computer. You're going to get the best possible, probably the least amount of noise as a result. Now, is that always going to be true for every scenario? No, not necessarily. So, try and test. And if you need a sound check, you can hook me up, or you can talk to Dan and get a specimen collection cup, and we'll take a listen. But there you go. Last thing, and there's a little bit of show and tell. Guess who made a new Shure SM7B?
It must be the folks at Shure, since they're the ones that make it.
They sure did. And guess what it's called? The SM7DB. Cute, right? Now, why do you think it's called that? Well, it's got a built-in preamp. So Shure was I think, extremely late to the game on this. But they decided to finally add a internal preamp or booster. Let's call it what it is, a cloud lifter, since Roger Cloud invented the whole cloud lifter design idea.
Right.
They decided to finally integrate one inside an SM7B. This is not the mic we recommend for voiceover. We've said it 10,000 times. But I thought when a mic this venerable, this well-known, this iconic in broadcast has an upgrade, or I don't know if it's an upgrade, but it has a change made to it, I thought it was worth mentioning. So yeah, now you can get the SM7DB, which has a 2-stage built-in booster, or preamp they're calling it, which gives you 18 decibels or 28 decibels or none. So it has a bypass. So it's basically 3 different stages of gain built into the mic, as well as the original, the little presence bump switch and the low cut switch that they have always had on that microphone. So there you go. Now there's a more expensive mic, not good for voiceover, available, but yeah. Since a lot of you folks also do podcasts, and that's a mic that's very popular for podcasts, I just thought it'd be fun to mention it.
Yeah. But,
there it is.
Yeah, the generally dynamic mics have very low output. So
generally they do.
And, so they built a preamp into this. You still have to get up to that mic to make it work the way it's supposed to. When it's a broadcast mic, when the signal goes into a transmitter, it is compressed and amplified and all that stuff. So you don't need those things with broadcast. But of course, things aren't really broadcast anymore. Everything's streamed. So
podcasted or streamed, right?
Yeah. So your levels have to be pretty good, or people are going to have to crank up their radios or their computers or whatever they're listening on.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be heard very, very clearly. And
I just think it's funny it came out with that boost thing, because the last 2 years, all the companies that make interfaces for, that are trying to take a chunk out of that market are adding gain like crazy. The Rodecaster Pro added a ton more gain. The Focusrite Scarlett now has more gain. Everybody has added more and more gain, mostly because of this one freaking mic. And then they come out and build in the gain booster, like making all that like kind of redundant. So anyway, it just was funny that they decided to do that. The only review on their website says, "Why did you add that gigantic word Shure on the side of the mic?" Because now it doesn't look like the original Shure SM7. It looks like a new SM7. And people, I think, are pretty picky about how this microphone looks. So I thought that was funny. Anyway, that's it for me. Dan, you're going to talk about drop-in editing?
Yeah. Who cares what a microphone looks like? Yes, we're going to talk about here. This is something I've been wanting to do, and that is teach a skill. If you're new to voiceover and you need to know how to edit better, this is one of the basic things you have to know how to do, and it's called a drop-in edit. Sometimes some people will say it's what do they call that when with
punch?
Punch, a punch in
punch,
edit.
yeah.
I'm taking this memory stuff. It's working a little bit better. I can pull those words in when I need them.
Well,
or
it's
I just ask
misnomered
you.
as a punch in or punch and roll. What it really is a punch in or a quick punch. Yes.
Right. This is not. This is after you have recorded something, and say the client comes back to you and says, you didn't pronounce that word right, or we added something, and you've got to do something and put it right in the middle of where you were recording. And how do you do that? Well, I'm going to show you on Twisted Wave how simple this actually is. I got to share my screen here. Let's see. Share screen. It's right there. Present. Share screen. Share my window. And share. Boom. There it is. Twisted Wave. Those of you who use Twisted Wave, I'm sure you recognize it. Okay, I'm going to read just a little bit of copy here, and then I'm going to show you how to do a drop-in edit. The key to this, if you have to add a word or subtract a word or something, you want to add a little piece of the sentence, do the edit on a hard consonant. But just a quick example of how we do this. Now here's some copy. I wouldn't even call this copy. This is instructional, but we'll see how it goes. Okay. Okay. Installation procedure. Before all, make sure that your radio is accordingly restored and not connected to the mains. The main switch of your radio should be cleaned and not produce excessive arcing. Good advice all the way around. Okay, now, let's see if we can hear this back. Installation procedure. Before all, make sure that you... All right, so you can hear it, which is a definite improvement. Of course, if it's a little low, you normalize it. But the client comes back and says, oh, we have to add something in there for legal purposes. It says, when not connected to the mains, in parentheses, plug must be removed. Well, how do you put that in there? In Twisted Wave, it's super duper simple. You just line up where that's supposed to be, connected to the mains. Okay, so I want to put it here, and all you have to do is just hit record and go, plug must be removed. All right, and then you can just sort of clean that up around that. Like so. And now it says...
Am I correct in saying that is not possible to do in Adobe Audition?
It is not possible to do because it will erase what you're doing. In Twisted Wave, you can do this, and then not connected to the mains. Plug must be removed. The main switch of your and then your client is happy. But there's another way to do this, and I will now show you how to do that. And that is just go to the end of the file and hit record so you're not erasing something if you're in Audition or something like that, and go plug must be removed and stop and play it back. Plug must be removed. Okay, just highlight that, Command C, copy, and then undo the thing, and then all you have to do is drop it in there. Paste. It's there. And now is accordingly restored and not connected to the mains. Plug must be removed. The main switch of your radio should be, and that's a drop-in edit. Pretty simple. I find that what I've been doing a lot, especially when I use Adobe Audition, is I can just record over what it is I've recorded, copy the piece that I want to put in there, and then undo the recording. Because as long as you save the what you've done and copied it, you can paste it in anywhere. So
does that work better or differently than doing Command X or cut and paste, or is it the same basic result?
It's just copy and paste.
Mm-hmm.
And then undo what you recorded, because it will save the file that you recorded as the proper thing that you're inserting. Mm-hmm. Also, say I wanted to change something along the lines of how I said this. So say I just want to redo the beginning piece here. You hit record and Before all, make sure your radio is accordingly restored and not connected to the mains. I mean, pretty simple, you could do that. But say I just wanted to take this last piece. Stored and not connected to the mains. Or from is accordingly restored and not... Okay, so where does it go over here? In procedure. Before all, make sure that your radio is accordingly restored. Okay, so stored and not... Where is the word radio is accordingly? Oh, here we go. Make sure that your radio is accordingly restored. There's the C right there. And find where it says that over here. Is accordingly restored. And hopefully this works. And now it should say. Now, what I did is I edited on a consonant. So, restore. Before all, make sure your radio is restored and not. It's hard to do because there's a slight delay here.
You know, I think it's because of the Bluetooth. We are using that as your as a workaround tonight to get that playback on our show, and you get a little bit of a delay on the.
Let me see if I can get this just right.
Yeah.
Is accordingly that's why, because is accordingly. Now let's try it. Before all, make sure your radio is accordingly restored and almost got it.
Well, you can trim it now.
I know.
A little tiny trimmer tool there.
Restored and not connected to. Restored and not is accordingly restored. Accordingly restored. Take out that last piece there. And now is accordingly restored and darn, it is so hard to do with the delay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I realize that Bluetooth delays. The way you're doing the editing makes it really tough. Here's a little sidebar PSA, kids. Don't use a Bluetooth playback connection for editing.
Before all, make sure your radio is accordingly and not. Boy, that is really tough to do with the delay.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, you see how to do that.
Idea.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you can go back or do it the original way you should. Plug bus be removed. Plug bus be removed. The main switch of your... Okay. So I re-recorded that and then just edited it together. Mm-hmm. Well, it didn't go quite as smoothly as I would have liked, but if you edit on a consonant, you can do it in the middle of a word and no one will ever know.
Yeah, that's a clever one.
Yeah. So, stop.
There you go.
That's how you do that. Anyway, it's time to take a break, and we'll be back with your questions, which you should have submitted by now to Jeff Holman right after these important messages. Don't go away.
This is Ariana Radner, and you're enjoying VoiceOver Body Shop with Dan Leonard and George Whittam. VOBS.TV.
Have you noticed the specific demands of clients regarding our home VO studios? Are they at a professional level to record for broadcast? And what does that mean? To me, it means it doesn't sound bad. I've seen several now demanding cardioid condenser microphones. Some are great, and cheap ones not so great. So how do you choose? It's like standing in the checkout line at the supermarket, deciding which candy or mints you want to buy. So which is right for you? Make it easy on yourself and get the Harlan Hogan Signature Series VO1A, the first and only mic designed for voiceover performers by a voiceover performer. The VO1A faithfully captures deep tones without sounding bassy and has a silky smooth top end that's never harsh. A perfect sound palette for both male and female voiceover performers. Get the complete kit with mic cable and shock mount now. Go to voiceoveressentials.com where you'll see all their great products made just for us voiceover people.
Hey, it's time for me to talk about Source Elements, a long-time supporter of the show. Not as long as Harlan, not nearly as long, but a longtime supporter of VOBS. The creators of Source Connect. And Source Connect is a tool that has become, well, it's completely adopted the use, basically all the projects that were being done on ISDN equipment, like over there, all that ancient ISDN phone line based stuff is long dead, and Source Connect has taken over. And the reason is because there was a very long period of time where ISDN was being used on many of the best and biggest kinds of sessions, the kind of work that pays the best, the stuff that's represented by agents, oftentimes union, etc. And that stuff was being done on ISDN, and it meant that actors were wearing golden handcuffs. They couldn't leave the studio. They couldn't really go on vacation. They were stuck. Well, there was this new kid on the block 15, 16 years ago called Source Connect, which allowed us to do this over the internet. Fast forward 15 years, ISDN is dead. ISDN had to go away for lots of reasons, but Source Connect, being a modern software tool that runs on the internet, persisted, and that is why it is absolutely the heir apparent and is used on so many big projects. So if you feel like that's something that's coming for you, or you're ready to do that big demo for that kind of work that's going to bring you that kind of clientele, then it's time. Head over to source-elements.com, get yourself a trial license, or if you're really serious about it, start your subscription, because then you'll have the support that comes along with it, and that's what makes it such a strong tool for you as an actor. Their support is fantastic. Head over there, source-elements.com, tell them we sent you, and we'll be right back after this next spot, right after this.
Well, hey there, it's David H. Lawrence with VO Heroes, and wouldn't it be cool if there was a very simple tool, drag and drop tool, that would guarantee that the audio you need to upload to ACX or any other audiobook platform is perfectly set up in terms of the text standards, the root mean square normalization, the peak normalization, the noise floor? Guess what? There is. And I want you to have it absolutely free. It's called Audio Cupcake, and you can find it at audiocupcake.com. I helped create this software. It was built to my specs and my standards for when I do audiobooks, and I know it's going to work for you. Now, it's only available for Macintosh because you Windows users, you have the ability to use other tools that work for you. But in this case, you edit your final raw WAV file for a chapter, you drop it onto Audio Cupcake, and out comes the 192K mono MP3 file you can upload immediately. That's audiocupcake.com. Audiocupcake.com. I hope you love it.
Hi, this is Bill Farmer, and you are watching VoiceOver Body Shop. It's great.
And we are back.
Thanks, Bill Farmer.
Yeah. We're trying to get Bill back on the show. It's a funny story here. I wanted to get him back on the show when we were in Atlanta. And I ran into him and his wife in the restaurant there. And I said, you know, I lost your business card. I want to get you back on. And, you know, of course, she pulls out her card, and she's a florist, I believe. And got the card, wanted to call him. Looked all over the place. Where was his card? Finally, cleaning out my drawer, I'm like, oh, there it is. Actually, I think it was actually in a jacket pocket or something like that. And so hopefully we'll get Bill back on the show.
All right.
Which would be good. She needs to answer my email, though.
Well, we could also find his agent.
That's
I have the
true,
technology.
Too. That's good to know. All right. Well, we got a couple of questions here that are, of course, excellent. And starting with Zachary Chalmers, he says, is Ventura ready for prime time yet?
Yes. Yeah, because it's what comes on. It's what started coming out a year ago. If it's been out a year, it's ready for prime time because there's been a full year now of software support, updates, bug fixes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm still running Monterey on this machine here, but on my laptop, I am running Ventura. That's what it came with. Didn't have any choice. And it's caused me absolutely no grief now for quite a few months. So, yes. Now, the next one is Sonoma. That's the one you're not ready to just jump in to start using quite yet. If you're really loving to try new things, if you like to live dangerously, go ahead and install it. I don't know if it's currently shipping or shipping soon, but Sonoma is the next Mac OS. Part 2 from Zach.
And I can demonstrate this. Is there a good noise reduction similar to the built-in noise reduction that's available in Adobe Audition that is good in a twisted wave? Well,
didn't they add one? Didn't they add one of their own?
There is. Allow me to show you where it is.
Allow me to elucidate.
That's right.
Elucidate.
We don't have to worry about the delay here because it's just a quick demonstration of how this all works. And okay, so here's a file in twisted wave. Aside from someone using a limiter on it,
you want me to take a pay cut?
Okay, so say someone has a little bit of background noise. How do you get rid of it? You go to Effects, and it says Learn Noise Profile. So
we don't see the shared menus, unfortunately.
Okay.
It's just one of those weird things about sharing window.
Yeah.
But you do Get Noise Profile, which is pretty much exactly the same as Audacity.
Right. And so you highlight a little bit of the audio. And even though you can't see me doing it, I go to Learn Noise Profile. And now you cover the whole thing. And you go back to Effects and denoise. And don't go hog wild on it. Maybe
use a low setting.
Yeah, I've been using 25% and hit apply. And it cleans, as you can see, it's pretty clean between there. So it got rid of a low tone that was in there.
Let's see how that sounds, if you can.
Oh, sure.
You want me to take a pay cut? I'm a valuable member of this team. It's...
So there's no background noise at all. So
yeah, all these tools, use them lightly.
Yeah.
Not too much.
Yeah.
A little dab will do you.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think people tend to overprocess, and that's what destroys audio.
Yeah.
So use things subtly. But I've used that noise reduction in Twisted Wave a couple of times. It works pretty well.
Especially if someone much yet.
Yeah. Well, somebody sends me something and says, I use Twisted Wave, which is why I ask when you submit something in my specimen collection cup, what computer are you using? Yeah. What software? Because I want to be able to solve the problem using that particular software.
Yeah, the more you provide us when you get those sound checks and things, the better we can give you. We can give you better advice.
Absolutely. We don't want to guess. We ask lots of questions, and that's the key. I learned that from selling life insurance. Ask lots of questions. It's called a fact finder. And with your home studio stuff, ask lots of questions. It's a fact finder for me. It takes us right to where we need to be to find the answer to your problem. Next question, all yours.
All right, this one's from Justin Ramos in the YouTube world. Thanks for the AT875R recommendation. That's this microphone right here.
This microphone right?
Yeah, we all seem to have them around because they're so affordable and work so well that they're just hard to beat for the price. But he wants to know, he's doing an interview for family history, so he needs a second microphone for the guest. What about the Pseudotac 800 or the AT2020? Sounds like he has a $100 price limit on the second mic. I'm guessing here, or maybe one Omni mic. Okay, you can go with one more Omni mic to record multiple people. It just sounds a lot more roomy. So it's going to sound like you're sitting in an echoey living room, and however echoey the living room is, the Omni mic will make it sound even probably more echoey. So it can work, but everybody's got to be pretty cozy. They need to really kind of come in close and sit very close to that microphone. So it's not a bad idea. Because the thing is, if you have two microphones, now you have two microphones to sort out. So if your subjects are really close to each other, two condenser mics is more challenging, actually. When they're really close to each other, you're really better off with one and sharing it, because two mics means twice as much noise, twice as much. Well, Dan's gesturing literally handheld miking, which if you have good technique is a really good idea. But if you have two mics, you have twice as many mics to pick up noise, room reverb, crosstalk, which is one microphone that's on this subject, hearing the person way over here as their voice bleeds over, right? There's a lot of tricky things to getting a couple of mics to work well. That is why those low output dynamic mics that are meant to be used kind of like this are so popular for podcasts, because you're now eating the microphone and the microphones don't hear as much crosstalk and bleed, right?
Right.
So what would you get for a second mic? I mean, maybe a 2020, but again, that's a wide diaphragm, what's the word?
A large diaphragm condenser.
Yeah, it's a wide pickup pattern.
Right.
So if you were to use that mic, maybe try that mic alone and have you and your family member sitting on not the front and the back. That won't work because the back cancels out, but maybe on each side of the microphone, like a 45-degree angle from the microphone, and that could work really, really well. So,
or
yeah,
find a mic that has an omni or figure 8 pattern, and then you could
figure 8.
Put a microphone right between you and your subject, and both of you can talk, and the mic will pick it up both ways. I hate to say this, but the Yeti will do that. But there are other microphones that have
That's
an
true.
omni pattern.
The Yeti will do that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people bought it to do family histories and stuff. Having been a former social studies teacher, that is a great project. Do an oral history, so you get those stories that Grandpa used to tell and stuff like that. So good for you.
No, this is one of those cases where the Yeti that has the multi-pattern would be a pretty nice choice as an alternative, because easy. You can set it on the table between you guys. Just still keep in mind don't get too far away. It's going to sound real reverberant. Other part 2 question to this is that he wants a comparison. Good thing Harlan's not listening. He doesn't like this as much, but it's okay. It's the way, we're comparing products, and that's what we do. What's the main difference between the Tri-Booth and Harlan's Porta-Booth? Price, acoustics, size. I appreciate the audio samples on both respective websites. Well, that means he's been doing his research. So let me show you real quick. I'll just do a screen share. I've got both booth product pages up side by side. We won't belabor the subject, but you'll at least see immediately what the differences are. And that's the wrong screen. Take 2. Share screen. We'll do entire screen, screen 2. There we go. There we go. So on the left-hand side is the Porta-Booth Pro, which is Harlan's premier product for portable voiceover recording. It's a roughly $400 unit. It folds up into a bag that is carryable like this.
That you can carry all sorts of stuff in.
Yeah, you can stuff things in there. On the right-hand side is the Tri-Booth, which is a totally different animal because, well, as you can see, it's big enough for us to stand by it. It's much larger. It fits into a duffel. It includes all of the framework, pipe, and blankets to create a tent completely enclosing you down to your shins, I guess. So yeah, it's a very different concept around creating a portable booth. So depending on which one you use, now I happen to know people that do have both. Andrew Peters, for example, from my podcast, Brodio Suite, he actually does have both. And he will use one or the other. Now, he likes to take Vespa trips. He will actually take his Porta-Booth Pro.
A Vespa trip?
Yeah.
It takes a little longer, but,
He loves Vespa travel. And he will do Vespa trips and travel long distances and actually bring the Porta-Booth Pro on the Vespa. Mac, we should get a picture of that to send to Harlan. Harlan being a motorcyclist, he would love that.
Right.
You would not probably want to, not that you couldn't, but you probably would not want to try to bring the Tri-Booth, which is almost 50 pounds in the bag, on the back of a Vespa. That would be rather uncomfortable or awkward. So if you want something that's a more substantial, that has, ergonomically you stand up, it feels like a booth that you would have at home, has a copy holder, has a light, has a lot of other little accessories, then that's where the Tri-Booth comes into play. price-wise, the tri-booth's about 4 times more, a little less than 4 times more expensive. So they're in totally different pricing class. So there you go. That's the difference. Of course, I know them extremely well. I've set them up. I helped design the tri-booth. So, they're just horses for courses, guys. Different animals.
Well, yeah, different animals for different situations. If you have the room to set up a tri-booth, that's a good place to do it. If you've only got a desk in a hotel room, a Portabooth Pro will work very well for that. And there's techniques for using both, and that's part of experience. You have to learn how to use tools. Having tools means nothing unless you know how to use them properly.
Right. I think the tri-booth is a little bit more idiot-proof because it does completely surround you. It does a better job of controlling the space all the way around you. Whereas the Portabooth Pro is a little bit less. It doesn't have as much coverage, right?
Right.
So that's a big difference. So anyway, thanks for asking, and I hope that helps you make a decision.
Yeah. Okay, so Jeff Holman asks, I assume we should wait to upgrade to the new Mac OS. What about the new iOS for iPhone? Note, I don't use iOS for voiceover, though I do use my iPhone to record my self-tape auditions.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
there's a new iOS that just came out.
When the iOS comes out, I trust Apple. I must be a moron, but I do because, I wake up and it's like, update. I'm like, okay. I thought it's somewhere to go. I
it's
like
the whole
to keep
once bitten, twice shy thing. I think 5-7 years ago they had a few bad launches.
Yeah.
But from what I've heard from the geek community is that they have gotten much better at vetting their updates before launch. So yeah, on my phone there it is, upgrade to iOS 17. I just updated my phone to 16.7. I opted to do the update to the last iOS 16 before jumping to iOS 17. And it's mainly because it's iOS 17.0. So, there may be a 0.7, there might be a 0.1. For sure, there's going to be a 0.1 and a 0.2. So I like to be a little patient. I try to be. The good thing is that they don't shove the upgrade down your throat as much. They might tell you it's there, but they don't force it on you. In fact, I have my phone set up to not do that. I said, please don't, I don't want to see betas and I don't want automatic updates. I like to have, I'm a little bit more of a control freak. So I think it'd be fine, but take it with a grain of salt. If your phone's important to you, just be a little bit more wary, I think. And then about the new iOS, that's what we were saying earlier. Wait to upgrade to the new Mac OS. The new one being Sonoma, which again,
I haven't even seen it.
Is that as they say shipping? You go
it
to
must be. I have
do you see
not
Sonoma?
seen any promotion for it or anything. So
it might still be in beta.
Yeah.
So it is the next one, and the next one is too new. I still feel like it's too new. So right. I'm going to wait on that. Some friends of mine, Dan, you're pretty brave to upgrade. Tim Friedlander, he likes to try things out when they come out. Check out the Mac and iOS for VO Facebook group that I made a while ago. That's a place where we share things in a safe space about Apple products.
Yeah. Some people have a very visceral reaction when you say Apple, but that's
some people do. They bristle. Anyway, thanks, Jeff.
Okay.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Rob Ryder says, Adobe Audition has insert recording, so it won't cover the original recording. That is true. But copy and paste works just as well and just as fast. I mean, I've gotten so fast at just being able to copy something, it's there on the copy board, and then just pasting it where you want to paste it. And, and I can go through this stuff. I do some stuff where there are some very difficult pronunciations, and the client is always coming back saying, you have to use more phlegm. When you say that.
Occupational hazard.
Yeah. So.
Is that where a windscreen is a good idea?
No, not really. Try to say things a little bit more ethnically. Good question here. Greg Cooper on YouTube. Could you clarify what you mean by editing on a consonant? A hard consonant, I think I said. What that means is you can literally edit in the middle of a word if you have a hard consonant in there. A T, a B, a P, even a D. But soft consonants like S and V and W, things, those consonants that sort of draw out a word. But a hard consonant is a hard in. You can see it on the waveform that it's very sudden. So like what I was trying to do in the demonstration earlier is I was trying to cut between the A and the C in accordingly, because you can do that and make it absolutely seamless. No one would ever know you did that. And so that's another copy and paste thing. So you might want to record a phrase to lead into where the pickup is, but just edit from the hard consonant in. And, I've been doing that for years, and they're none the wiser that I've done that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I wanted to do a little, I wanted to check what Rob said, because I know he's into the tech stuff like us. And I think they may have added this mode of recording in Adobe Audition, maybe recently, maybe, I don't know when. But if you right-click on the record button itself, you got instant record, punch and roll, and timed record modes. But then below that, there's overwrite, and then there's insert mode. When I choose insert mode, let's see, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now that seems to more imitate what Twisted Wave does.
Yeah.
So they're actually, it looks like they did add that into Audition now.
Yeah. The great thing about editing on a consonant and using that kind of stuff is your voice might be different. And if you just use part of a word to fix something, if you didn't say something right, you're not going to notice any voice flaws. Like, say, I've had a cold for 2 weeks. I wish it would go away. But you can hear it in my voice. So something I recorded 2 months ago is not going to sound the same. So, that's why a tight edit like that can save you if you have to do a pickup and your voice is very, very, or the time of day you recorded it. Because, boy, my voice sounds a lot different in the morning than it does late in the afternoon. Although it seems to sound like this all the time right now because I can't seem to kick this thing out of my sinuses. Anyway, this is now Patricia Andre has a great question here because this has been coming up.
Oh, by the way, when I go to software update, guess what the new version of macOS available today is? Sonoma.
Yeah.
So if I clicked upgrade, kids, let's talk for a second. If it says upgrade, that is not the same as update. It is not. When it says upgrade now, that is not an invitation to upgrade. That is the Mac OS saying there's something new to try. Click more info right below that, and then you'll see other updates available, and you'll see that there's new updates available for the OS you already have. For example, I can click other updates available, more updates, and see Mac OS Monterey 12.7 is available, right? So I can still update. I can still update the version I already have. So it sounds like she upgraded to Sonoma.
All righty.
And now she can't record in Twisted Wave.
So what should she do?
I don't know. Well, okay, that's not a right answer. The right answer is to, okay. I'm sure that Thomas from Twisted Wave,
Twisted Wave, yeah,
has been testing Sonoma, right? That's his job, right? He probably does have a fix or an update or a patch for Twisted Wave on Sonoma. So email support@twistedwave.com. Let him know. Check the website. There's probably a patch or a fix that will make it work. Very, very, very likely. If there is not, and you really are in trouble, you need to have backed up your computer before upgrading, which you use Time Machine and back up your computer, right? And you need to restore the previous backup of your system and go back to Ventura. Those are your options right now.
Yep.
All right. Time to wrap this up.
Yeah. So Anyway, thanks for all your questions,
Yes,
and we'll be right back to wrap this up after these very important messages. Do not go away.
This is the Latin lover narrator from Jane the Virgin, Anthony Mendez, and you're enjoying Dan and George on The Voiceover Body Shop.
Your dynamic voiceover career requires extra resources to keep moving ahead. There's one place where you can explore everything the voiceover industry has to offer. That place is voiceoverextra.com. Whether you're just exploring a voiceover career or a seasoned veteran ready to reach that next professional level, stay in touch with market trends, coaching, products, and services while avoiding scams and other pitfalls. VoiceOver Extra has hundreds of articles, free resources, and training that will save you time and help you succeed. Learn from the most respected talents, coaches, and industry insiders when you join the online sessions, bringing you the most current information on topics like audiobooks, auditioning, home studio setup and equipment, marketing, performance techniques, and much more. It's time to hit your one-stop daily resource for voiceover success. Sign up for a free subscription to newsletters and reports. It's all here at voiceoverextra.com. That's voiceoverextra.com.
You know, you have to have a website if you're a voice actor. And if you're just starting out as a voice actor, what do? Well, there's a great site you can go to. It's called voiceactor.com. Follow the bouncing fingernail. Voiceactor.com is a template website. You can create your website like that, 20 minutes, because they have a bunch of different templates you can use. You can change the colors, and you can add pictures. You can really make it look pretty good really, really fast. The menus are really simple, and you go in there, and it's free to start out. You can start for free and actually design your website and get it up and on the internet like that, as opposed to waiting 2 months while a webmaster figures out all the coding that has to go with it. No coding with this. It's simply templates and getting your information in there, your name, your demos, and most importantly, your contact information. Because they may love your voice, but if they don't know how to get a hold of you, what's it worth? Go over to voiceactor.com and get your templated voiceover website put together right now.
We are the World Voices Organization,
also known as WOVO. We're the not-for-profit industry association of freelance voice talent. Voiceover is a complex entrepreneurial business.
WOVO is there to promote the professional nature of voice work to the public, to those already established in their voiceover practice,
and to those who want to pursue voiceover as a career.
Membership benefits include
a supportive and creative community,
a profile and demos on voiceover.biz, our searchable directory of vetted professional voice talent,
our exclusive demo player for your personal website,
our mentoring program, business resources, and our video library,
our annual WOVOCon conference, a fun and educational weekend with other members with the chance to learn and network,
webinars and great speakers, and weekly social chats with other members around the world.
If your world is voiceover,
make WOVO part of it. World Voices Organization.
We speak for those who speak for a living.
This is Bill Radner, and you're enjoying VoiceOver Body Shop with Dan Leonard and George Whittam. VOBS.TV.
All righty. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys, and asking your questions, because we love to answer them. Next week on this show, I'm not exactly sure who we're going to have, but I know in the end of October, we've got PJ Olchan is going to be joining us.
Nice.
And a few other great voiceover people talking about different stuff.
He's a preeminent audiobooks person.
Yes, and he's an expert in accents and that sort of thing. So that's really cool. You got to remember, if you want to work with me on your home voiceover studio, you go over to homevoiceoverstudio.com. And if you want to work with George, you go over to
georgethe.tech. And if you like discounts, /VOBS, which is the VOBS landing page where you'll find a coupon code for deals.
All righty. And, of course, Jeff Holman and his IMDb has to go in there for some reason because he works so hard.
Holman. Because there's a strike. The guy needs help. Come on, give him a break.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, thanks to our donors of the week, and you can donate to us as well, and help us maintain the amazing technical quality that we have. So thanks to Greg Cooper,
Grace Newton,
Christopher Epperson,
Robert Leadham,
Stephen Chandler,
Casey Clack,
Jonathan Grant,
Thomas Pinto,
Greg Thomas,
A Doctor Voice,
Antland Productions,
Martha Kahn,
949 Designs,
Sarah Borges,
Philip Sapir,
Brian Page,
Rob Ryder,
Shauna Pennington Baird,
Don Griffith,
Trey Mosley,
Adre Diana Birdsall,
Maria Makis,
and Sandra Manwiller. Thank you all for your donations to the show. It all goes to making it all work better, because no longer is it every week, it's Apollo 13, which was a long time ago. We've passed that a whole lot longer ago.
Thank goodness.
Yes. We need to thank our sponsors like Harlan Hogan's Voiceover Essentials,
Voiceover Extra,
Source Elements,
VOHeroes.com,
VoiceActor.com,
and
world-voices.org. The Industry Association of Freelance Voice Talent. We are doing some cool stuff, so go on over there and check it out and join our organization, because it'll help your career. Thanks to Jeff Holman. Once again, the IMDb for Jeff Holman is
.me/Jeff Holman.
Right.
Jeff Holman. JEFFHOLMAN.
Right. Okay. Don't say we never did anything for you, Jeff.
He needs the bump, dude. Clearly, he's not been on enough HBO and other massive hit shows.
Always fun to just be watching a show. Hey, look, there's Jeff Holman. It's always fun. We need to thank, of course, Sue Merlino for getting it done today with directing and making us look like a professional TV show, despite the fact I'm in my garage. It used to be a garage. It's a recording studio. And George is in his apartment, but we look like it's a TV show.
We try.
Anyway, thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Dan Leonard.
I'm George Whittam.
And this is Voiceover
Body Shop.
Or VOBS. Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk. Tech Talk. Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
All right. Have a good week, everybody. You know, I got to tell you, it's not easy to get your audio right. But if it sounds good,
it is good.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye now.